Nothing to hide, and I'm gonna break it straight down the pipe for you, face to face.
Being tough gets you hurt. This is a sharp game, a skill game, a chess game, and I think people see that.
Having lost that fight, walking out of the ring, what were your memories? What did you think?
Boxing's a lot tougher than I expected.
UFC.
You don't know my ability though.
That's true. That's true.
You don't.
I don't know where you might go. I just give you where I think you're at, which I'm entitled to, which is average. Average is very complimentary.
The Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua face-to-face interview delivers raw tension between two athletes from completely different worlds. Jake Paul, the YouTuber-turned-fighter, meets former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua with bold confidence. Joshua stays calm, evaluating Paul with veteran composure. Paul admits Joshua's size, skill, and championship mindset make him a serious threat. He openly respects the challenge, calling it possibly his toughest test yet, but vows he's ready to prove
This relentless style, this forward pressure, taking lots of damage and not giving a fuck and returning that damage more than what his opponents are giving him. And that...
With the fight officially locked in for December 19th, anticipation has exploded. Jake Paul insists this isn't another celebrity exhibition. It's a real showdown against a former unified heavyweight champion. He acknowledges the massive risk but says greatness requires daring moves. Joshua, steady and controlled, praises Paul's business drive but reminds everyone that experience takes over when the bell rings. Both men agree this fight will change careers. Either Paul shocks the world or Joshua reasserts his dominance.
So I like the challenge. People, that's the criticism. Fight someone in their prime who's a beast. I think people just want to see me lose. That's really what the message is behind it all. And Anthony Joshua is an insane fight, but I want that challenge. We've been DMing back and forth. He wants to make it happen. He called me up, and it's looking very likely for next year.
I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua. I know I will
got knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. But I want to fight you.
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping calls the matchup a win-win for Jake Paul. Even in defeat, Bisping says Paul earns respect for stepping in with a former heavyweight king. Taking on Joshua proves Paul isn't just doing celebrity boxing. He's taking real risks. But if he wins, his legitimacy shoots into a different stratosphere. Meanwhile, for Joshua, Bisping sees a lose-lose scenario. A win brings criticism for taking an easy payday.
The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong, all his critics, like me. By the way, I'm not like out there on an island by myself. Everyone says the same thing, and he would potentially prove all of those critics wrong. Well, yeah, he would, maybe, unless there's some funny business, right? And for Anthony Joshua, as I said, this is kind of a lose-lose, right? Because if he wins, people are still going to say, well, you only beat Jake Paul, right? The man that lost to Tommy Fury, after all, right? That's the only loss in his record, Tommy Fury. You're telling me that Tommy Fury is going to beat him and then Anthony Joshua's not going to beat him? So if he beats him, he gets no credit. And if he loses, then holy sh**. Can you imagine? That would be the biggest downfall of any boxer's career. The reality is, he's not going to lose. There is no way on this earth that Jake Paul can beat Anthony Joshua in a boxing match. That's just a fact, okay? Look at what he did to Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou hits as hard as a Ford Escort, going 100 miles an hour or whatever that stat was. Comes from the UFC. He was the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Has a good go against Tyson Fury, but goes up against Anthony Joshua and gets flatlined. Every single punch that was thrown was landed, and every punch that landed put Francis Ngannou down, okay? So to stand there and think that Jake Paul, who's much, much smaller, who has way less experience, that doesn't weigh anything near him, is going to have a chance, and not to mention...
For Joshua, the fight feels more like a business play than a legacy war. One major factor is the weight difference. Jake Paul came in around 200 pounds for Mike Tyson, while Joshua usually enters heavyweight territory at 252 to 255 pounds. It highlights
was going to be. I legit think it was probably close to happening. Now you're telling me there were discussions and potentially, signed to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. And again, I do believe the reason for that is Jake's massive size advantage. Again, that's like a 100-pound weight advantage. How would that even work? Like, how do you even... Never mind. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it's not official and I don't think it's happening. So let's just not even broach that subject. But let's talk about the Anthony Joshua fight. And I want to hear the clip again because I just can't believe what I'm hearing. Let's play it again.
I know my boundaries. I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will fucking beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know I will
just got
beat,
knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends, all this shit, but I want to fight you.
So Jake says he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He says he's gonna beat Anthony Joshua's ass, that he doesn't have a chin, that he has no skill, and that he's stiff. And then you hear Derek again with the porn creeper stash chime in. Didn't he just get knocked out? Yeah, by Daniel Dubois, who is a reigning heavyweight champion of the world. Not that that means anything at all, I don't guess. Yeah, Jake's just flat out wrong here with a lot of his critiques of Anthony Joshua in comparison to himself. Like, if you want to say for the elite heavyweights in the world that Anthony Joshua has a little bit less skill and is more stiff than they are, then okay, but Anthony Joshua is still an elite heavyweight in the world. And then to go as far as to say, I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass, that he doesn't have a chin, no skill, he's stiff. Like, again, Jake can have this opinion. And he says that, that we're friends and I love you, but I want to fight you. And Jake may even believe that, but he's just wrong. Like, Anthony Joshua took heavy shots against Daniel Dubois before he was knocked out, and really, the reason he was knocked out is because he got in a firefight and threw an uppercut as a lead because Ben Davidson was...
Anthony Joshua has fought the biggest names in the sport, carrying far more experience than Jake Paul. Joe Rogan has stressed this in discussions. Joshua has survived wars with elite heavyweights, while Paul is still
coming into his own, man. That's what that is. He's only like 27. That guy's fucking scary. He's dangerous. Going into that fight, it seems like he believed that he was just going to dominate him. He was so aggressive. He was just in the pocket constantly, just forcing Joshua to go to war. It was wild.
Everybody was like, look, to Joshua, I think you're done.
Right after he knocks out Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, you're back.
Yeah.
Flattened Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, oh, Joshua's back.
Dana White's opinion on Jake Paul remains dismissive. He says he stopped taking Paul seriously after he lost to a real boxer. White mocks Paul's boxing resume, calling earlier fights glorified pay-per-view showcases. He also laughed off legal threats from Paul's team, saying Paul's bouts aren't fixed, they just aren't legitimate high-level.
The fight that's reportedly being worked on for December 19th in Miami.
Did I see the fight being worked on December 19th in Miami?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know which fight I'm talking about?
No.
Fair enough.
Oh, Jesus. That's a fucking bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what. A lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody's going to get what they...
Tommy Fury completely shuts down the idea of Jake Paul fighting Joshua, calling the ambition laughable. He reminds everyone he beat Paul with a badly injured hand, using it to question Paul's credibility. Fury argues Paul hasn't earned a shot at Joshua and suggests Joshua would have nothing to gain. He even joked that if the fight went long, Joshua must have been paid off, saying Paul can't truly trouble a heavyweight.
Can beat Jake Paul. Excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So...
On the flip side, Tyson Fury made a bold prediction. The former heavyweight champion believes Jake Paul would knock out Anthony Joshua. He said, Jake Paul chins AJ 100%. I'd back...
I think Jake Paul knocks out Joshua, seriously.
Jake Paul chins AJ, yes, they fight.
Are you serious?
100%.
Paul calling him out. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a real 50.
Fury doubled down by calling it a legitimate 50-50 fight and even wagering £1 million on Paul to...
Tyson Fury just comes out with an interview saying that he thinks Jake Paul will knock out Anthony Joshua. I think this is probably like a troll attempt to get Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury, but then again, I don't know. Maybe Alexander Usyk did more damage than we thought. I think Jake Paul knocks him out, Fury told Ring Magazine when asked about Paul versus Joshua. I just think Jake Paul would knock out Anthony Joshua out. I think Jake Paul is on the rise. I like his new heavyweight look, a bit chubby, a bit bulky, getting there. And he just did a great job over the aging. I mean, fool's like almost 40, you know, and he like was not a fighter for a long time or a boxer, you know. He's just in it for the check and the name value of his dad, you know. Aging Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he was a middleweight, but still. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Who'd he call out? Tank Davis and Joshua? That's just crazy. I see Richter scale call outs. Exactly. I will say, I don't know, Gervonta Davis could beat him too, even though he does outweigh him.
Fury's comments fired up debate across boxing. Jake Paul responded with full confidence, claiming he'd multiply the wager tenfold, offering £10 million on himself to win.
Talk about possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spam force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look. Bit chubby, bit bulky. Getting there. That's protected. And he just done a great job over the aging Chavez Jr., who was a middleweight, but still. Sure. Yeah. I like how Jake Paul calls out the full spectrum from featherweight to heavyweight. Do you know what I mean? Who did he call out? Tank Williams and Joshua. That's just crazy. That's what he called Richter scale.
Paul's habit of calling out legendary fighters continues to annoy boxing fans. Many argue he isn't a serious boxer and uses callouts to create hype rather than prove real skill.
I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know I will
just got knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. All this I want to fight you. I will beat Canelo.
Stop the tape now. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. The thing I respect about Jake Paul is his strategic selection of opponent. The retired NBA player, the mixed martial artist who does not specialize in striking, and a almost approaching 60-year-old Mike Tyson. But Anthony Joshua's skills are 1,000 light years ahead of Jake Paul's. Anthony Joshua, Mr. 28 wins, 25 knockouts, 4 losses. Anthony Joshua has been in the ring with real fighters. His resume speaks for itself. I just have one thing to say. Jake Paul, you can't play boxing. Trust me. Just stay in your...
Stephen A. Smith hit back at Paul for choosing to fight Mike Tyson. He says if Paul wants respect, he should face fighters his own age and level, not legends like Joshua who hold decades more experience. Smith argues Paul risks looking like he wants attention, not true competition.
At this particular moment in time. Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer. But 57 years old is 57 years old. And 57 years old and formally walking into a UFC fight as an audience member, as a patron with a cane, it's hard to me believe a year later that you're going to be in any condition to really fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. And if you're Jake Paul, here's what I want to say to you. It's Mike Tyson, that's fine. It's a money fight, I get you, and you want to make money. But at some point in time, if you keep telling us that you're taking boxing seriously and you want to be recognized as a big-time boxer / fighter, you're going to have to fight somebody closer to your age, who is a contender at the very least in the sport and who lives with it every single day. Could you please get in the ring with somebody? Pretty please with sugar on top. I'm interested.
What did you think about the fight, Jake Paul?
I hate it.
And Jake Paul's starting to piss me off. Mike Tyson is 57 years old, man. Jake Paul been training with professional boxing trainers for years. He takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer, but then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're fighting actual boxers. Now he decides to fight a fighter, a real fighter, which is Tyson. But Tyson is 30 years older. Stop this nonsense of going against dudes that either ain't boxing or is 25 years removed from the sport.
Smith has long questioned Paul's resume, saying he mainly fights non-boxers or past their prime veterans. Paul defends himself, claiming Tommy Fury got scared of a rematch. This moment is crucial for Paul. He has beaten MMA fighters and older boxers, but rarely active young talent. His loss to Fury was one of the few times he faced a prime boxer. Critics say if he wants respect, he must fight more opponents like Fury.
Are beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxers.
I was on Disney Channel while these guys were winning UFC championships.
Okay.
You know, I was playing with Mickey Mouse while these guys were throwing arm bars and winning UFC championships. Everyone's, analyzing my career, critiquing it, paying attention to it from day one, but you can't tell me who was Mike Tyson's first fight. You can't tell me who Muhammad Ali, who was his fourth fight. No one knows, but everyone's seen all of my fights. I tried to fight Tommy Fury. Yeah, I tried to fight Tommy Fury, and he backed out due to a rib injury. Undefeated, young prospect. He comes from the Fury family. His brother's the heavyweight champion of the world.
Despite the criticism, the financial stakes are massive. Reports suggest each fighter could earn around $92 million from Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua, a combined purse of $184 million. It's a career-defining payday for both. For Paul, it's a huge win no matter the outcome. For Joshua, the financial reward alone makes the fight tempting.
For Anthony Joshua. However, given all of that, both men are going to make $92 million each. So forget my opinion. Who gives a damn when you can bank $92 million for having a little move around in a boxing ring? Fair play. You can't on that. However, let's talk about it. The reason I say that it's a lose-lose we'll start with Jake Paul first. The reason I say it's a win-win for Jake Paul is because, listen, if he wins, then he's beating a former heavyweight boxing world champion, certainly one of the best heavyweights of his generation, and of course, a man that is way bigger than Jake Paul. Of course, it's a win. And if he loses, it's still a win for Jake Paul because he had the balls. He was man enough. He was willing to test himself. He would prove everyone wrong.